Panatag Shoal, also called Scarborough Shoal, or Huangyan Dao, is a small triangle of rocks and reefs in the South China Sea, about 120 nautical miles from Luzon. Its calm lagoon has long sheltered Filipino fishing boats and provided rich fishing grounds for generations. But Panatag's value goes far beyond fish. Its location is strategic, sitting in the middle of major shipping lanes vital for global trade. Control of the shoal means monitoring ships and aircraft in a critical waterway, making it a military and security asset. For the Philippines, Panatag is a symbol of national pride and sovereignty, enshrined in maps and laws as part of its territory. Losing it is seen as a blow to national dignity and a test of the country's ability to defend its rights. The dispute here is about more than territory. It's about international law, economic resources, and national identity. What happens at Panatag Shoal affects the entire South China Sea and sets precedents for global maritime rules. This tiny ring of coral has become a flashpoint in a much larger conflict. The fight for Panatag is a story of how a local fishing ground became a global hotspot. It's a test of whether small nations can stand up to powerful neighbors. The future of the shoal is tied to the stability of Southeast Asia. The stakes are high, and the answers are anything but simple. Panatag Shoal is proof that even the smallest places can have the biggest consequences. The Philippines and China both claim Panatag Shoal, but for very different reasons. The Philippines relies on geography and international law. Panatag sits well within its 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone under UNCLOS. For decades, the Philippines has treated the shoal as part of its Zambales province and exercised jurisdiction there. China, meanwhile, bases its claim on ancient maps and historical records, arguing that Chinese sailors discovered and named the shoal centuries ago. This is part of China's broader nine-line claim over most of the South China Sea. Tensions exploded in 2012 when a standoff between Philippine and Chinese vessels ended with China maintaining a constant presence at the shoal. Since then, China has effectively controlled access, blocking Filipino fishermen and asserting its sovereignty. The Philippines continues to protest, insisting on its legal rights and challenging China's actions. China, however, acts as if its claim is undisputed, using its Coast Guard to enforce control. The result is a dangerous stalemate, one side armed with international law, the other with historical arguments and physical power. Local fishing communities are caught in the middle, facing daily risks and uncertainty. The dispute is not just about maps, but about livelihoods and national futures. Each side sees Panatag as a test of its resolve and legitimacy. The world watches as two nations clash over a small but crucial patch of sea. The outcome will shape the region for years to come. In November 2025, the Philippines passed two new laws, the Philippine Maritime Zones Act and the Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act. These laws officially define the country's maritime zones and enshrine the 2016 arbitral award into domestic law. The goal to make the Philippines' claims permanent and clear, aligning national policy with international law. The Maritime Zones Act cements the country's territorial sea, contiguous zone, and exclusive economic zone. The Archipelagic Sea Lanes Act designates specific routes for foreign ships, helping the Philippines manage and monitor vessel traffic. These laws are a strategic move, clarifying the Philippines' position to China and the world. They provide a stable legal foundation for future negotiations and enforcement. By locking in its legal victories, the Philippines aims to protect its maritime rights for the long term. The laws don't change the situation overnight, but they strengthen the country's hand in the ongoing dispute. It's a calculated step in a larger strategy to defend national interests through law and diplomacy. China responded quickly to the new Philippine laws. Just days later, Beijing declared new territorial baselines around Panatag Shoal and submitted them to the United Nations. Drawing baselines is a powerful legal move. It treats the shoal as sovereign Chinese territory and sets the stage for further maritime claims. Unlike past actions, China's baselines here follow UNCLOS rules more closely, making its claim appear more legitimate. This is a sophisticated legal tactic, escalating the dispute on the international stage. While the Philippines uses new laws to align with global norms, China uses baselines to reinforce its own narrative. Both sides are now fighting with the tools of international law, but for opposite ends. The legal battle is intensifying, with each move raising the stakes. The future of Panatag Shoal is now a contest of legal frameworks as much as power on the water. Baselines are the starting points for measuring a country's sea territory under UNCLOS. From these lines, nations claim territorial seas and exclusive economic zones. China's new baselines around Panatag Shoal declare the lagoon as internal waters, giving China absolute control and the right to deny entry to any foreign vessel. This is a major shift. Filipino fishermen, who have used the lagoon for generations, now risk being treated as intruders. The 2016 arbitral ruling protected traditional fishing rights, but international law doesn't recognize those rights inside another country's internal waters. China's move creates a legal pretext to block Filipino fishermen entirely. It also raises the risk of confrontation. Any Philippine vessel entering could be seen as violating Chinese sovereignty. By redrawing the map, China is turning a shared space into an exclusive one. The consequences are immediate for fishermen, and dangerous for regional stability. A legal line on a map has changed the reality at sea. In 2013, the Philippines challenged China at an international tribunal under UNCLOS. The 2016 ruling was a sweeping win for the Philippines. China's 9-dash line was declared illegal, and Panatag Shoal was ruled a rock, not entitled to an EEZ. The tribunal affirmed traditional fishing rights for both Filipino and Chinese fishermen, and found China had violated those rights. For the Philippines, the award is final and binding, a cornerstone of its foreign policy and now part of its domestic law. Manila insists the world should uphold the ruling as part of a rules-based order. China, however, rejected the tribunal's authority, calling the ruling null and void. Beijing argues the dispute is about territorial sovereignty, not something an outside court can decide. This fundamental disagreement keeps the two countries far apart. The Philippines champions the law, China ignores it. The result is a legal and political deadlock. The 2016 award is celebrated by one side and dismissed by the other. The gap between legal victory and reality on the water remains wide. The law that was meant to resolve the dispute has instead deepened the divide. The Philippines' new laws and China's response have drawn global attention. The United States quickly backed the Philippines, praising its commitment to international law and the 2016 arbitral award. Washington's support is part of its broader push for a free and open Indo-Pacific. Malaysia's reaction was mixed. It protested references to the Philippines' claim over Sabah, revealing old disputes complicate regional unity. Vietnam, with its own disputes with China, generally supports the legal principles of the arbitral award, but has overlapping claims with the Philippines. Once Manila publishes official maps, Vietnam is expected to issue a symbolic protest, even as it quietly supports the Philippines' legal stance. These varied reactions show the complexity of Southeast Asian politics. While the U.S. offers clear support, regional responses are nuanced and shaped by history. Forming a united front is difficult, and China often exploits these divisions. The Philippine laws have stirred both support and old tensions. The region's web of interests makes the dispute even harder to resolve. Behind the legal battles, Filipino fishermen bear the brunt of the Panatag Shoal dispute. Once a safe haven and rich fishing ground, the lagoon is now patrolled by Chinese Coast Guard vessels that block Filipino boats. Fishermen face harassment, water cannons, and confiscated catches, making each trip a dangerous gamble. Many are now too afraid to fish near the shoal, forcing them into less productive waters and deepening poverty in coastal communities. The economic impact is devastating. Catches have dwindled, incomes have fallen, and families struggle to survive. China's declaration of internal waters threatens to make this hardship permanent, ignoring the 2016 ruling that protected traditional fishing rights. For these fishermen, the dispute is not abstract, it's a daily fight for survival and identity. The loss of Panatag is the loss of heritage, not just income. The conflict turns ordinary people into casualties of a larger power struggle. The stakes are personal and immediate for those who depend on the sea. The human cost of the dispute is as real as any legal or political victory. The Philippines has strengthened its legal position, but China still controls Panatag Shoal. Legal victories haven't changed the facts on the water. China's presence is unyielding. Tensions are likely to persist, with new baselines emboldening China's Coast Guard and raising the risk of confrontation. The international community, especially the U.S., is watching, but has limited influence over daily events. The primary risk falls on those who work in these waters. The future could mean continued stalemate, renewed negotiations with Southeast Asian neighbors, or even a larger crisis if an incident escalates. Meaningful talks with China seem unlikely as long as it insists on its 9-dash line. The fate of Panatag Shoal is a test of whether law or power will prevail in the South China Sea. The Philippines bets on law and diplomacy, China bets on history and control. The world is watching to see which approach wins out. For fishermen and nations alike, the stakes are enormous. The next chapter in this dispute is still unwritten.